Hello, hello. Today we are going to use skip counting by twos to help us with addition questions. To get started, let's just review what counting by twos means. You see, when you count by twos, it means that you are getting two bigger every time you say the next number. We can say counting by twos starting on 2, which will give us all of our even numbers, and then circle every number that is 2 bigger, and then 2 bigger after 4. 1, 2 will get us to 6, and then 2 bigger after 6. 1, 2 gets us to 8. 2 bigger beyond that gets us to number 10. 2 bigger beyond that gets us to number 12. Hopefully you can start to see a pattern emerging. When we're saying all of the even numbers, it always ends in 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8. And if we continue this all the way down our 100 chart, you will notice that all of the numbers ending in 2, 4, 6, 8, and 0 are in the skip counting by twos pattern. Of course, this is assuming that we are referring to the even numbers. We could have started at a different place and our pattern would look slightly different, but we're going to start with the even numbers. Alright, I've identified every number I would say in my skip counting by twos pattern. They all end in 2, 4, 6, 8, or 0. Now that I've reviewed counting by twos, this is going to help me with my addition questions today. Let's take a look at this first one. 46 plus 2. When you take a look at this question, you can think, oh, I could use skip counting by twos to help me. All I have to do is think about what comes after 46 in my counting by twos pattern. 46, 46, where are you? There's 46. So, if I were counting by twos, what would I say next in the pattern? It would be 48. And I can prove it. 1 bigger, 2 bigger. Counting by twos helps us find the answer. Let's take a look at another question. Let's do 70 plus 2. We can use skip counting by twos to help us find the answer. When you count by twos, if you start at the number 70, and then you keep counting by twos, what will be the next number that you say? 70, 72. That will be the answer. Of course, to do these plus 2 questions, it is always helpful to do a counting by twos warm-up before you start. So you might want to whisper to yourself, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, and so forth. This can help refresh your brain and warm it up for plus 2 questions. Remember though, when you do addition, it does not matter what order the add-ins come in. I'm going to show you how you can flip them around to make a question easier. Here is 2 plus 18. We can use skip counting by twos, but first let's write this question in a different way. We know that when we add, the add-ins can be flipped. Let's write it like this. 18 plus 2 equals. Now we know we're skip counting by twos and we're starting at the number 18. If we look at our chart, find the number 18. That's where we're starting. What will be the next number that you say in your skip counting by twos pattern? 18, 20. That gives us our answer. Of course, you can write it in both places. This is exactly the same question. The add-ins have just been flipped. Sometimes it's nice to put the bigger number first and switch them up. Now we're going to look at +4 questions. And the reason we're doing this is because 4 can be written in a way that helps us use our knowledge of skip counting by twos. Let's take a look at this question. 64 plus 4. I'm going to circle the number 4. I'm going to disguise it and write it in a different way. So instead of saying 64 plus 4, I can think about it like this. 64 plus 2 plus 2 more. You see 4 is the same as 2 and 2. I just wrote the question in a different way because now I can use skip counting by twos to help me find the answer. That means if I start at the number 64 and I get 2 bigger after that and then 2 bigger again, it will get me to my answer. I can take a less direct route. So next I have to find the number 64 on my 100 chart and then skip count by twos and skip count by twos once more. I'm just going to erase my chart. Let's go ahead and find number 64. Here it is. So if I'm skip counting by twos, 64, then the next number I would say would be 66. And then if I wanted to add 2 more after that, I would eventually land on the number 68. This is how counting by twos can help me with +4 questions. 64, 66, 68, and there's my answer. I took a different route. I thought about 4 in a different way. Let's try this again with another question. Let's do 32 plus 4 equals. Well, I can circle the 4 and think about it in a different way. Remember, 4 is really just the same as 2 and 2. It's just written in a different way. And the reason I want to write it as 2 and 2 is because now I can use skip counting by twos to help me find the answer. If I start at 32 and then I get 2 bigger and then 2 bigger again, I will understand what the answer is. Let's find it on our 100 chart. 32. There you are. Now let's skip count by twos. 32, 34. We have to get 2 bigger once again. We land on 36. Let's count by twos to confirm. 32, 34, 36, and there's your answer. Of course, so far we've been working with even numbers. What happens if you don't have an even number? Can you still count by twos? What if your question looked like this? 17 plus 2. 17 is not an even number. Can you still count by twos? The answer is yes, you can. Remember at the beginning, when we talked about counting by twos, we discussed 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, and so forth. We were saying all of the numbers that ended in 2, 4, 6, 8, and 0. But the thing is, you don't have to start at the number 2 when you're counting by twos. You can start from anywhere. If you start at the number 1, and then you get 2 bigger, you land on 3. And if you get 2 bigger beyond that, next you would land on 5. 2 bigger after that gets you to 7. And next, 9. 2 bigger after that gets you to 11. Are you noticing the pattern has changed? Now that we started on the number 1, we're not saying the even numbers anymore. In fact, this time we are saying all of the odd numbers. It's still skip counting by twos because we're getting 2 bigger each time we get to the next number, but we started at a different place. So now our pattern is different because all of our numbers in this skip counting by twos pattern end with 1, 3, 5, 7, or 9. If we continue the pattern all the way down, you will see how it looks different than the last one. These are all of the odd numbers, and of course you could continue it all the way down to the bottom. So now that we've talked about that, let's take a look at this question, 17 plus 2. Even though 17 is an odd number, we can actually use skip counting by twos to help us. We would just have to think, what comes next in our counting by twos pattern when we're saying the odd numbers? If we take a look at our chart, well, if we're at 17, what would be the next number that we would say in our counting by twos pattern? That is, what would be the next odd number? The answer is 19. 17 plus 2 is 19. Let's take a look at another odd number question that uses counting by twos. 2 plus 55 equals. It's a skip counting by twos question, except we're not using even numbers, we're using odd numbers. First thing I'm going to do is write the question in a different way. I like it when the bigger number comes first. 55. Well, if I were skip counting by twos, saying all of my odd numbers, I know the pattern is ends in a 1, ends in a 3, ends in 5, ends in 7, ends in 9. Where is 55? Ah, there it is. What would come next in that pattern? That's right, I skip over the 6 and I get to 57. Counting by twos can help you with odd numbers and even numbers. Of course, it's always a good idea to warm your brain up first and do some counting practice. So not only should you count by twos, saying all of the even numbers, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and so forth, you should also warm your brain up by counting by all of the odd numbers. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, continue the pattern, 11, 13, 15, 17, 19, 21, 23, 25, 27, 29, and go all the way to 100. By doing this, when you see plus 2 questions, you'll quickly be able to find the answer. Let's take a look at one last one before we go. When we were talking about plus 4 questions, we learned 4 is the same as 2 and 2. So let's apply this to questions that use odd numbers. 23 plus 4 equals. Even though it's an odd number, we can still count by twos. We just have to be very familiar with the pattern. 4 is the same thing as 2 and 2. There's 4. I can think about it in a different way as 2 and 2. Now, my question will be 23 plus 2 more, and then plus 2 more again, and that will give me my answer. So if I look at my 100s chart and I find the number 23, and I skip count by twos, and then skip count by twos one more time, the number I land on would be 27. 23, 25, 27. Remember, in order to make this an efficient strategy, you need to be very quick and confident counting by twos, both by even numbers and odd numbers. So if you're finding these plus 4 questions challenging, make sure you go back to your 100s chart and take some time to practice your skip counting so that you can do it with your eyes closed very, very quickly. Good luck. See you next time.